if you want to take pride in your organization, if you want to engage your fan base with the history of your hockey club, you have to celebrate some of the good and some of the history of your club. So how do you do that? Well, you have to have events and milestone recognitions where the fan base can identify with the team. There hasn't been a Stanley Cup yet. So how do you do something like that? Well, here's the thing I like about Chris Neil and why I believe, Wally, it was the right thing to do. Ottawa, people can argue, debate this. We always have a chip on our shoulders about Toronto and bigger cities. We're kind of like that smaller city. We don't like Toronto that much. One thing Chris Neil is, he's the guy that sticks up for the little guy. He's the guy that'll take on the bully. He'll stand up for what he thinks is right. And I was watching some of the videos. The ceremony was tremendous what they put on for Chris. We can get into that later, but I just saw and got reminded of some of his fights. For example, when Zdeno Chara left to go play in Boston, people will have all the different reasons why he left, but he chose to play in Boston instead of staying with the Ottawa Senators, right? So there's Chris Neil. He has two big fights against a guy who's 6'9". And when you watch those fights, it's like the little guy. It's like David versus Goliath. So there's that series as well we've all talked about when Chris Neil came in against the Rangers. He only played a couple minutes, but there were little moments in his career when you can say to Chris Neil, that's what Ottawa appreciates in a player like Chris. He had the fights, he stuck up, and he was a pretty good player too. To play 1,000 games in the league, you have to be a good player. And it's a great story. 6th-round draft pick, spent some time in the minors. So I like it because this game, everyone talks about points. Everyone talks about stats. There are other intangibles in the game that are so important that guys in the dressing room realize it. Guys that do it every day understand it, and people that really know and understand the game get it too. So I thought it was great, very well done, and it was well deserved.
Yeah, the other thing too, this is so Neeler, and I love him for it. Neeler he got the entertainment value of the game. He understood that what they did was entertaining, and so when he left. And he's raising his arms to fire everybody up. And then he's waving at the top like he's the president of the United States stepping off of Air Force One. I loved it because it got everybody involved. The energy he brought, just like he was on the ice, he brought to the jersey retirement. And I loved it. I loved every second that he wanted to celebrate that night. Like he was emotional, but he waved to the crowd. He brought you in to that ceremony.
100%. And here's the other thing too. If teams are going to have such a high standard, like I said earlier, you're not going to retire any jerseys. There's going to be, like, look at the Vancouver Canucks, for example. They've never won a Stanley Cup. They've been around a lot longer. They're taking pride in things they have to. Every team, you have to know your fan base. And I think one thing that Ottawa's done right this summer is they've re-engaged the fan base. They've had, 10 plus sellouts so far. They've done a nice job of bringing back the fans. And how do you do that?
Correct.
The alumni is a huge part of that. You got to recognize and celebrate your past. And
I agree.
Montreal Canadiens, Toronto Maple Leafs, prime examples of that. And we'll say, well, they won before. Well, statistically, it was easier to win Stanley Cups back then. That's a fact. That's a fact. There was less teams. And so that is, you can't deny that. And not saying they weren't great teams, not saying they didn't deserve those cups, but it's different now. So I like it. You're going to see more and more teams doing this, celebrating, because it's good for the brand.
I jokingly say we should build a statue to Chris Neil, and the rest of the league would just lose their collective minds. That would be entertaining.
So here's where I draw the line. The statue for me, you got to do. The statue is. I'm not a statue guy.
Wayne Gretzky deserves a statue. Mario Lemieux,
right? Bobby
Orr, Gordie Howe.
Yes.
All you can give them whatever you can name buildings. I don't care. They can get whatever they want. That's probably where I stop.
The statue is Yeah, I hold the statue pretty high, Wally. I'm with you on that
or
one.
you know what, Rocky Richard, he's got one too. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
anyway,
Well,
hey, but
Montreal,
to each his own. If the LA Kings
yeah,
think that they should have a statue to Dustin Brown, then you build
whatever.
it.
Fill
But
your
next
boots.
time, make it
Fill
look
your
like
boots.
Dustin Brown. Yeah.
Oh, I haven't seen it. Doesn't look like him.
You remember the who's the soccer player now? I can't. Not Ronaldo.
Pele?
Is it
Pele?
Ronaldo? No. They just had the stalker statue to, and he didn't look anything like him.
Guy.
Anyway, you know what? At some point, we'll get back to it.
Hey, were you at the Chris? Sorry, were you at the Chris Neil game? Did you go?
I was not.
So I don't know if they showed this on television or not, but at the end of the ceremony, did you see when he left through the penalty box?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. That whole energy.
It was
him leaving through the box, walking up the stairs, like he had that whole building just in his hand.
I'll tell you a couple of things that they hit out of the ballpark with. When I know Aaron Robinson had a lot to do with it. I'm sure a lot of people in the Sens organization. The one thing that I thought was really cool when they had all the current Senators on the bench and they brought all the old players out and we sat in front of the bench. So you had like Chris Phillips was out at center ice, but you had Van Allen there, you had Vermette there, you had Bonk there. You had all these guys that are part of the past. So you had the past in front, the present right there, and then everybody in attendance to honor somebody and to be part of it. And it was very cool how they did it. And I'll say this, I think Philly's been taking some public speaking lessons. Did a pretty good job with the speech. Not a lot of you knows, not a lot of ums, not a lot of obviously's. I think he's been secretly taking some speaking courses. He was good.
You know what's no. And here's the thing with Chris Phillips. He was the most cerebral guy that I interviewed. So when I was ever looking for a 10-second soundbite, it was never Chris Phillips because he was always too smart in his answer that made it like 30 seconds long because he would give you the actual whole answer. So I was like, I can't use this, Philly. You're too smart.
He was good. He had a great speech, really good speech, couple good jokes.
Yep. He's very
good.
But
it was totally on point.
You know what I wish? I wish all the players, as in former players and teammates, I should say, were sitting at center ice. Because I feel like you guys should be able to be seen. Because you're not close. You're at the back. I'm just telling you, as for me, I want the family and I want all the players who showed up, who flew in, who were there to sit there as well. That's all.
Yeah, I liked it. The bench in front. I thought it was good. And then, I don't know. I thought it was very well done.